Hi, this is Joseph Tan here from goodmonday.com. I had an interesting question asked me the other day, saying that, hey, if I am offended by this other person and he has done me wrong, how do I make him apologize? How do I get this other party to admit that he is the one that has caused me the harm, and he is the one that should actually make the first move to say sorry and sincerely apologize? When we have this mentality that I am waiting for the other party to apologize, and the other party might reflect back the same type of attitude, what are we seeing here? We are seeing the playing out of the waiting game. And will the waiting game work? The answer is a big fat no. Why? Because human nature is such that there is pride that is involved, and each party is too stubborn to admit that they are wrong. So, what to do? I would like to introduce here the principle of jurisdiction. Let me give an example here on how the principle of jurisdiction works. Remember the time when Malaysia wanted to build an additional bridge across the causeway to Singapore? And Malaysia was very willing to build a bridge, but Singapore was not. And what happened is the authorities in Malaysia say, well, if Singapore is not willing to connect the bridge, we will do whatever we want on our side, design whatever bridge we want to be able to connect to the existing one. So Malaysia, following the principle of jurisdiction, has the liberty to do whatever they want within their territorial waters. Now, on Singapore's end, the decision whether to connect with Malaysia or not is entirely their jurisdiction and their free will. And this is the same principle applying to situations where there are two offended parties. Let me explain. Now, when I am offended by another party, what is my area of jurisdiction? There are two things that is within my boundaries and that is within my territorial waters, and I do as much as I can to connect with the other individual. Beyond that, it's really up to him or her to respond. There are two things that I need to do. Number one, I need to be able to have a clear conscience. Now, how do we have a clear conscience? We have a clear conscience by willing to apologize first, by being willing to apologize first for our part of anything that we may have done wrong. Now, you may be saying that, hey, Joseph, the part that I have done wrong is only 10%. I've only done 10% of what constitutes the entire conflict here. Well, in that case, you apologize for the 10%. Focus on your 10% and get the ball rolling. By focusing on your so-called 10%, what you're actually doing is that you are working as much as you can within your own area of jurisdiction. And once you take the first step to apologize sincerely, then it is up to the other person to respond and whether if he wants to make the connection to the bridge or not. Now, you do as much as you can within your control, and whether if the other party respond or not, that's entirely up to him. Just like Malaysia being able to build a bridge as far as we can, the rest is up to Singapore. Now, if you have done this first step in apologizing for your 10% or 20% or 30%, you have come a long way in clearing your conscience. But there is still a second step that you need to take. So here, the first step is to apologize. Now, the second step is to forgive. Now, then you might say, Joseph, how can I forgive if he doesn't ask for forgiveness? Well, forgiveness can be given unilaterally. In fact, if you take a look at the word forgive. The word forgive has the word give that is inside. It is something that is given to someone who does not deserve it. Now, if forgiveness is given to someone who deserves it, then it is not forgiveness. It is actually just responding in kind. Now, the tough question is this: Joseph, how do I give something to someone who doesn't deserve it? The secret is to realize that if I choose to forgive someone, it doesn't mean that I trust them. Forgiveness and trust are two separate issues. Now, when someone has offended me, what happens is that there is now a break in our relationship. And what forgiveness does is that forgiveness restores the relationship so that we can be back on talking terms again. Forgiveness is something that I release so that we can be on talking terms. Now, does that mean that I will be able to trust this person again like before? The answer is no. You can forgive without trusting. Forgiveness brings this person back on talking terms again. Now, whether if I can trust this person in the future depends on his behavior and depends on his future performance. Let's put it another way. When I choose to forgive someone, I'm actually showing respect to him as a human being. But it doesn't mean that I trust him. Trust comes if he displays consistent character, because trust needs to be earned. So for those of you who are in leadership positions and you may have someone who has offended you or who have done you wrong, it doesn't mean that they must earn their way back before you can forgive them. You can forgive them immediately, because as a human being, there are intrinsic qualities within them that requires that sense of respect. Now, but when it comes to trust, this is an entirely different issue. We need to set measurements, we need to set constraints, and we may even need to put certain consequences in place to show that their character will be consistent in the future. So, in summary here, when someone offends you, take the two-step approach to build your bridge. Number one is to apologize. Do it as soon as you can. Now, when you apologize for your part, you are demonstrating a clear conscience. You are demonstrating personal responsibility. And secondly, especially when you feel that hurt has been done to you, you exercise that commitment to forgive. And forgiveness is something that can be given even when the other person does not ask for it. It is something good that you are doing to yourself, because forgiveness brings about a sense of emotional release, and you're saying, yes, I release you, and I want us to be on talking terms again, and I will not hold a grudge against you. But whether do you trust this person in the future? Well, it depends on his character, and it depends on his future behavior. So trust and forgiveness are two different issues. Release forgiveness to gain emotional health, but when it comes to trust, well, this needs to be demonstrated and earned by the other party in the future. This is Joseph Tan here from goodmonday.com, and I hope that this video has helped you to be a little bit more wiser in building strong relationships. Thank you.